Hello and welcome to episode 82 of the Focus on Gaming podcast. I am Duncan and I'm joined by Tom.
How you doing?
Hello. And Martin is unfortunately dead, so he did get better, so he should be back next week. And yeah, so today's episode we're going to be talking about emulation after a bit of news on the primarily on the Steam Deck. So if you have a Steam Deck or actually ROG Ally or the Legion Go,
Or a PC.
listen, or a PC, yes, most of these things, because I like to keep it easy. I think we'll have the easy way of doing it and give us some advice. No links though, no links. Obviously, yeah, no links because that would be wrong. Anyway, so isn't much news, is there? But we thought we'd better talk about the state of play by PlayStation. Avowed is coming out in the next few days, but so I will have a review of that next week. The reviews of it have been quite good. We'll just say that for now. Mm-hmm. So, was there anything that caught your eye in the PlayStation state of play?
No, because it was
excellent. Right.
Boring.
Was there nothing? Was there?
No, just boring.
Obviously, most of the things, I don't think there was many actual exclusives, but most of it was things that we knew about, but there was quite a few dates. The only one, there was one or two that I didn't know about. There was a new Sonic racing game. Does that not float your boat?
I knew it was coming, but no.
I hadn't heard about this. It's been a long, long time since Transformed was the last one, wasn't it? So, quite surprised by that. But the big one for me, obviously, is another one that I had heard about because I think it was announced quite a while ago. Is I'm just trying to Directive 8020 or Directive 8020, 8020. I don't know, however you say it. Is basically a supermassive game. So it is a Dark Pictures game. So if you like the Dark Pictures anthology, it is, I think, like season 2 or the beginning of season 2 of that, because you had Man of Medan, House of Ashes, Devil in Me, and Little Hope were the first 4 games.
Yeah,
none of them actually have anything to do with each other, just that they had this narrator guy, and they were all spooky games. But yeah, I love those kind of games where they've got about 20 different endings and each choice has a big impact.
Because you love spooky games, don't you, Duncan?
I don't know that. Little Hope was a little spooky. Ironic. It wasn't Big Hope, as in Big Spooky. But yeah, I liked all of them. Man of Medan was on an abandoned ship, and there's goop that sends people crazy and whatnot. House of Ashes is a old Sumerian temple or something like that, and then Devil in Me was more of a haunted house slasher kind of one. But also you've got The Quarry, Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human. I love all. There hasn't been one that I haven't enjoyed. Yeah. The only one I haven't been able to finish because I can only play it on my desktop because I am not shaking my Steam Deck is Heavy Rain, the old one. But yeah, within a minute of starting, it gets you to shake your Steam Deck if you play it on Steam Deck. I'm like, I'm not shaking my £479 device. I know it's not worth that much anymore, but
I was going to say you got ripped off. What's going on?
Well, I launch date one, didn't I? So there was no discounts for me.
Yeah.
What was it? 459. I think it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, Directive 8020 looks pretty good. Going into a bit of sci-fi and photorealistic models of various sort of famous actors.
Yeah. Isn't there a new PGA Tour golf coming out as well?
2K there's a 2K. I think there's a PGA 2K.
Yeah, it's quite good actually.
25.
I mean, they haven't got the old school way of doing the controls, but
no, because I know the EA ones still have the option in the menu. They default to the sticks. but they still have the 3-click. You can have 3-click, 2-click, and stick. But yeah, I'm with you. I can't stand the stick. Stick controls suck. Mostly because I suck at them. They suck because I suck at them. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm just trying to hit it straight, a little bit straight. I'm meant to be a professional golfer. Don't show that I'm not a professional golfer by making my just a tiny little bit to the left. And yeah, that's it. I've hooked it. Yeah, no, don't like it. Never will. I like to just aim and go, yep, I'm aiming that way. And if I don't get the power right or don't get the hitting it on the way back perfectly right, punish me for that. Punish me for timing, not my ability to push a stick backwards and forwards straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a few independent games. Onimusha 2 will be coming in May, like a remaster, or it's been enhanced a bit. 2026 there'll be a new Onimusha, which was basically a feudal Japan Resident Evil, really, wasn't it? A bit more actiony, if I remember rightly, Onimusha. So, but other than that, one that you noticed was Dreams of Another, which
that's kind of interesting.
It was really weird because it starts off in very much a dream-like trailer, but then it's all like very small voxels. So imagine Minecraft, but the blocks are tiny. And you're all like, "Oh, this is very dreamlike." And then he whacks a gun out and starts shooting doors into appearance, and then there's a clown that gets his wig punched off, and so I can't really. Yeah, it's a shooter game, but it also looks like a very much a story, artful game.
And it's a VR game as well, isn't it?
And yes, it will be in VR. So it's PS5 and PSVR 2. Weird. And then the Days Gone remastered, which I think everybody knew about, will be out in April. I own the unremastered version on PC and completed it. Fantastic game. A long game. Takes a long time to finish. But yeah. So
I played it a couple of times. I'm not a big fan, but played it a couple of times.
It was just, there was some times where it was a bit of a slog, but there was very much a satisfaction when you destroyed a horde.
Yeah.
You have 200 zombies running towards you. It was also a really good one to show off the Steam Deck. Because the Steam Deck, I thought, there's not a chance when it has a horde come on that it's going to be able to do it. But obviously, it works on a PS4, so why not Steam Deck? And it did. It worked perfectly fine. Looked fantastic. So I don't think the Steam Deck will probably particularly do well with the remastered. So why bother getting the remastered? For me personally,
You never know.
But if you didn't own it on a PS4, I personally highly recommend it. It's a fantastic game with an even better story. Yeah. So yeah, there was
a few things.
There was Mind's Eye as well, which is by the like a rocket. I'm just trying to look. Yeah, and basically there was a Fortnite competitor being developed by an ex-GTA producer called Everywhere, and they were releasing a single-player game alongside the creator. Now, creating Fortnite style thing has been delayed, but this single-player game is coming out in the summer. Now, I was quite excited by this because I thought, a game creation engine and something that could rival Fortnite but be a bit more adult. But the trailer it looks like an Xbox 360, very basic cover shooter that with some GTA style driving. So yeah, if you want a basic GTA, that's your thing, then that'll be good. But me personally, there's 1,000 of these that we can get on PC and whatnot that already do that. So they've got to have something special. So bit disappointing that.
Yeah.
And then did Borderlands get a date? Hang on. 23rd of September 2025. Borderlands 4.
I
There
think
you
we've got a new Raccoon City Resident Evil game coming out as well, haven't we?
Ooh.
On the PS5. If I remember rightly.
In the state of play.
No, I don't think it was mentioned on there. I just happened to come across a video. So
I mean, I know they're turning off the servers for the was it the Village multiplayer
yeah.
version? They turned off the servers for that because nobody plays it.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's yeah. It makes no difference to anybody. I don't think. No, I haven't heard about any Raccoon City game, but I shall keep an eye out for that. Although Dead by Daylight 2 versus 8 mode returns with a special Resident Evil collaboration. It says Dead by Daylight Resident Evil in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, I can't find anything.
Yeah.
So if you're on PlayStation, to be honest, there's very few of those games that were announced or given dates were actually exclusives.
Yeah.
So if you're on PC or Xbox as well, most of the games I think that were mentioned are on other platforms. And speaking of other platforms, Steam Deck. It has brought powerful retro emulation to a handheld, which it's not the first handheld that's emulation powerhouse, but the fact that it's a PC and it did it all very well, and then it had, I think that there are a couple, but I will go with Emudeck first. It had something like Emudeck, has brought its emulation to the masses because a lot of people, I think, probably on PC or non-dedicated hardware, probably a bit scared by emulation. Oh, what if I've got to set it up and all this kind of thing. Whereas Steam Deck has made it really easy.
Yeah.
You have a Steam Deck, don't you?
We have one in the house. It's my kids, but yeah, we do. It isn't used for emulation though.
I have Steam Deck. Well, maybe I can guide you through it.
Well, I've been trying to convince my boy to do it, but he's not very forthcoming.
Well, maybe he's again a bit scared by the thought of doing it. Now, obviously, it's a grey area with the ROMs. If you're going to download the latest Switch games from illegal sources, because they're all going to be illegal, and play that's illegal.
Unless you own it.
Unless you own it. But even then, you'll have modded versions or accessing them is still a grey area, even if you own them, because you're meant to be ripping your own. And then you're also meant to rip your own prod keys. So, but for things, the last 4 generations, generally, it isn't a case of you have the software, you have a ROM, you can play it. You also generally have to have BIOS or a firmware or something else. In terms of Nintendo Switch, you need quite a lot. But for your 8-bit, your 16-bit, generally all you need is the software and the ROM, and you're away. Now, Emudeck on Steam Deck, it is really simple to install it. It's got a GUI now. It's got a graphic interface. Whereas when they first released it, it was just a command line box, and it just did a load of command line stuff, and then it all appeared. Whereas now you've got a full installer. It's emudeck.com. There is also RetroDeck, but I won't confuse matters by going through both of them. But I can imagine it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
You go to emudeck.com, go to download your chosen platform because there are versions for other handhelds. And once you put that piece of software onto your desktop in desktop mode, obviously you have to do all this in desktop mode. You just double click on it and follow the instructions, and then it helps you set up each individual platform. It helps you import any saves that you might have. If there's a website called Retro Achievements, and what you can do is you can log in via various emulators, and it brings achievements to your Golden Axe or your Super Mario Land. So SNES games, Game Boy games, all sorts. You can have achievements. All these things you can choose aspect ratios. You can choose whether you have a CRT filter on it. All this kind of thing. Or you could just install it, basic, and it will go, okay, and just set up everything.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that the Steam Deck doesn't do, and other devices, but we'll again stick with Steam Deck, is it doesn't get you the games, and it doesn't get you BIOS, and it doesn't get you firmwares or prod keys or anything like that. Now, if you are just installing it to play Game Boy, NES, SNES, Mega Drive, Master System, these early consoles, you don't need all of that. You're all good. You should be fine. Now, in terms of ROMs, obviously, we're not going to give anybody links, but Google is your friend. Be careful. Research where you're downloading from, because there are a lot of bad actors out there who will put zips that have malware and stuff in them, or just rubbish ROMs, because people put ROM hacks on that don't work, or just not vanilla. I prefer vanilla things. But yeah, places like Reddit, if you're looking for ROMs, hinted. So get your ROMs, and it's very simple. It's just like a PC where you get like a USB stick or connect it to a PC, or if you've got a hub, connect like a card reader or a USB to your hub, and put ROMs into folders on there, which literally you choose where your installation is, and you will have a folder called ROMs, and then in amongst that you will have all your device folders. So it will say SNES, MD, but you'll have a folder for MD for Mega Drive, or Genesis, or Gen for Genesis. So it doesn't matter which one you put it in, and you say you just put a ROM into the respective folder. Then there is another piece of software that's been installed by Emudeck called Steam ROM Manager. Now, what that does is that basically tells Steam that you have this game installed and you want to play it with this software. So, what it does, it searches all the folders, finds what ROMs you have, finds the artwork for them, and puts them into gaming mode. So once you've run that, so you've got the ROMs, you put them in the folders. Once you run Steam ROM Manager, you can go back to gaming mode, and your games will all be in the non-Steam section of the gaming mode. There you go. So that's a very basic thing. And there are 1,000 options you can change. You can go into individual emulators and change things if you want, or you can just play.
I think there's a lot to be said for emulation. I mean, it doesn't come close to having the original system, but
yeah.
I mean, my kid the other day said to me, "Oh, can you get the Mega Drive out the loft so we can try it with the games?" I said, "Well, we'll use the Mega Drive Mini," and he said, "No, I want to use the real one." There's a lot to be said. So
yeah. I mean, the fact that you can just get a Steam Deck and go, oh, do you know what? I fancy playing Streets of Rage 3. And the fact that these games are teeny tiny for nowadays, I remember emulating, probably, yeah, probably late 90s was the first time I emulated. And I emulated things like Super Nintendo, and this was the very early days of PlayStation 1 emulation as well, because it didn't work very well.
Yeah.
But it worked, and I think I just about got it working back then. God, that would have been 26 years ago, about then. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, so it was around there. It was before I moved down to Southend. I know that much. And yeah, just the fact that I could play all these games that brought back memories, and even back then with 56k dial-up, you could download a Mega Drive game in a few minutes. Yeah, and yeah, loved it. But now I can download. I mean, on some of these places, you can get packs which have every single game available. And I mistakenly do that. I wouldn't advise doing that on the Steam Deck, because you end up with them all in the. You can remove games, but if you've got a pack with 700 games in it, then they all appear in the non-Steam section. And so, although you can skip by letter, it takes a while for the Steam Deck to go, oh God, I've got to count all these games. But the fact that I can just go, oh, I play that game. Oh, now I play that game. Oh, now I play that game. I love it. I love it. The Steam Deck just makes it so accessible.
Yeah, and obviously MAME, which is the arcade emulator that's been running for just about forever.
It stands for multi-arcade something emulator, isn't it?
But it just received a update, which allows it to play more modern games as well as more systems like the CDI. It's got an update on there.
Multiple arcade machine emulator.
But so that's still going. And obviously got SNES 9X, and the CDI project is running. There's just so many different things, and I think it's a cheap way. And if you've got like a mini PC and you chop it up to your TV and put a wireless controller on it, you just can't go wrong.
I mean, nowadays, probably the cheapest way to get good quality emulation is your Raspberry Pi. Obviously, it does take a little bit more of a tinkering mindset, but there are literal step-by-step instructions, so you don't have to know what you're doing, but you still do need to have access to a computer and be able to go sort of. But you get kits that literally, that look like an NES, or that will put one into a handheld. So yeah, they can cost a bit if they're the all-in-one kits kind of bit, compared to the Raspberry Pi, which you only need a basic one. You don't need the all singing, all dancing one. But yeah, Raspberry Pi you can do whatever you want with. A lot of people put them connected to TV, and yeah, you can have it. So a Bluetooth controller, and you've got thousands and thousands of games. So it is definitely a cheap way of getting into gaming, especially if you've got little kids, because little kids. We talked about this before, and little kids don't care about the extra frames per second.
No.
Well, when we've got small kids and big kids, and yes, the big kids are like, oh, that's good looking kind of thing, but the little ones don't give a monkeys. They couldn't give a monkeys at all. And my son still prefers playing Sonic to a lot of games I've shown him that are good looking. Although he does tend to give up still.
Yeah, I think that's normal for this era.
Well, you didn't. The thing is, when we were little, you had that game.
Yeah.
And you might have had 2 games, 3 games, or even if you had 15 games to play, you had 15 cartridges, you were rich. You still didn't have the variety you do now to just go, I've got 350 games. Oh, that game's really hard. I'm not going to play it anymore because I've got 349 games.
Yeah.
But if you want a cheap, fun way of playing games, emulation is the way. Which would be which is the first system that you always get going for?
Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though in last episode we established that the Mega Drive is better.
Yeah, but we didn't, did we?
No, it's normally 16-bit is normally where I start as well.
Yeah. This has the best games.
And it is your Sonics, your Marios, Streets of Rage. But then when we started this podcast, I was going through quite a lot of retro games, and I was doing a game with each letter. I think I only got to about G in the end and I stopped. I really should carry that on.
I can give you my legal ROM collection if you wish.
Oh, I've still got about 300 or 400 games because I went through and deleted a lot of games off there because there was some games I'm never going to play that in a million years. Because I was just downloading packs that had various rubbish in them as well as some gems. But yeah, what games would begin with H? Or was there?
God,
Herzog Zwei wasn't that was a shooting one, wasn't it?
Or
was it an RPG? It's an RTS. Yeah, for the Mega Drive. There you go. Herzog Zwei. I'll look for that one. 1989. But that's the thing. There you go. I can look up hundreds of games and find all these games.
Yeah, I'll give you a few. Harvest Moon, Human Grand Prix, Hook, Home Alone.
Hook, I remember that. Home Alone. I have actually got Home Alone on. I don't know which one I've emulated it on. I think it might be Mega Drive. And it's not very intuitive.
No.
This is the one problem with these games because all these games that came with an instruction booklet, so they don't have tutorials like you do nowadays, because there was no need because you had an instruction booklet.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of games I've started up and I'm like, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing.
The best one I ever had was the Turtles coin up on the Amstrad, and I for the life of me couldn't get it to work. And then it was asking for a code, and the version I bought didn't have the security code sheet in it. You got it with it was like a sheet of lots of codes. It would say to you line 27 row 3, and you would have to type in the 4-digit code or whatever it was. Anyway, I then bought a second version of the game, and it had the codes in it, so it worked. But it took me a long time.
Did you just return it without the codes in it?
No.
I'm just going to buy this game. Oh, actually, I've decided I don't want this game. Just walk out the shop and go, slip. Thank you very much.
They were more than second hand, and probably about 12th hand.
This wasn't when you were little.
No.
And just anybody wondering, most of the game, or pretty much all the games that have these code sheets, they're generally ROMs are edited so that they bypass that. And even if they are still on there, generally you just put anything in and it goes, oh, brilliant. So if it says line this, word that, and you just type in anything and it'll go, brilliant, you got it correct.
Here's a good one with the letter H, and you'll remember the TV show Home Improvement.
Oh, God, I can imagine that's terrible game.
Sure it is. But yes,
is that I don't know what I was going to say. Is that Mega Drive?
That is Super Nintendo, that one. I'm going to send you a screenshot, Duncan, for the podcast. There you go. It says,
oh my God, it's a platformer.
Power Tool Pursuit.
It's a 2D platformer. Okay. Doesn't look quite as terrible, but let's Let's have a look at the critical reception. Oh God! Oh no, there's some decent scores. Oh, that's a 33 out of 50. Okay,
They were drunk at the
so it's
time.
it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10. That's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Surprising, really.
Yeah, mixed to positive. I think is a good description, as it says on Wikipedia. Oh, maybe I should go for a more obscure one like that. Yeah.
I think you should.
Home Improvement Power Tool Pursuit.
I want you to download that on the Steam Deck and complete it by the next episode.
What was his name? The
Him.
the guy with the beard.
Oh, don't know.
I'm just trying to find where Home Improvement was. It Hal?
I think it might have been actually.
Hal or something. Here we go. Taylor Family Tool Time. Al Borland. There we go.
There we are.
By a guy called Richard Kahn.
Good old Richard Kahn.
Who's still going, apparently.
Held up by his power tools.
He's only 68. Blimey. Okay. Yeah. Then again, I think we just assumed that everybody's really old because we think really, really old. But that is still 22 years older than me. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, so other emulation. What other devices have you emulated before that's worked?
Oh God, everything. Well? I think the hardest to emulate used to be the Sega Saturn, which is a lot easier to do now.
I think there are some, even the Steam Deck struggles with that because it's the software hasn't quite worked. They haven't quite worked out the best way because the N64 still has some things that struggle. Again, but N64 has come on a lot more. I think it's just the point is that the Saturn generally, I don't think he's worked on as much.
Well, the Saturn had so many chips to work on that it's hard to replicate that. But I mean, now it's relatively good. So, whereas the N64 is the texture mapping, I think that's a struggle. So when you
because I've got an RG35XXH, and that if you get the standard operating system, they don't have N64 on there because it doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
Now that it's not to say it's not powerful enough because you can emulate the Dreamcast on the RG35XX, and PlayStation 1 works perfectly fine, which all are around that power and more powerful. So but things are always improving. I still remember back in the day, Virtua Racing on Mega Drive was not able to be emulated. I mean, this is going back like 20 years. It wasn't. You couldn't emulate it because it had the FX chip. No, not FX chip. What was it called? The chip
SuperFX chip.
SuperFX. Was that what it used?
Yeah.
Or was that Star Fox?
Star Fox used that. What was the other one you were thinking of?
Virtual Racing.
Oh no, that used the. Oh God, hang on.
I'm just trying to look as well. Virtua processor.
It was some weird thing. Wasn't even very good.
SVP chip.
SVP chip. That's the one.
It's Sega Virtua Processor.
It had quite a lot of problems still writing the distance lines. So when you were driving distance, you'll notice that the lines go into a point rather than drawing the track. So,
well, I mean, it was a good arcade game. It wasn't a great Sega Mega Drive. It was very well reviewed, but it hasn't aged that well, I don't think, personally.
They did a HD remake of it recently, a couple of years ago on the Switch, and it's really good. Like an absolute joy to play. So, but the 32X add-on did add a lot to the game. So
It probably got it nearer to the arcade version, didn't
yeah, well, yeah, as best as it could do, put it that way.
it?
But
Yeah, back in the days when having something in the arcade at home was like, wow, I've paid money. I've paid 10 pences to play this game, and now I don't have to pay it. I just had to pay £60 for it, or £40, or whatever it was back then.
well, I'll tell you what, I remember my dad and mum getting me Star Fox for, I think it was Christmas, and it was like £70 for this game. And everyone was like talking about Star Fox. I think it had a different name in the UK. I remember right, Star Wing, I think it was called in the UK. Some copyright thing.
Yes.
And I mean, it was just amazing to look at this screen with these 3D vector graphics, and it was just amazing. But of course, they moved on pretty quickly to the Donkey Kongs and things like that. But yeah, it was amazing, and the price of it was very expensive, very, very expensive.
Do you if you talk about the old 3D game, do you remember hard driving?
Oh, hard driving, yeah.
Oh god, it was hard. That was certainly what it was, because I still remember playing it in the arcades, and it was because you had no force feedback with the steering wheel, so you just had a steering wheel that was like loose as anything, that would just spin around. I don't know if it would only spin to a certain amount, but there was no force at all. So you'd steer, and it would you'd just end up halfway off, a mile off the track. And
Yeah.
this was something where it took a while to get going because the 3D didn't work very well. Well, it worked very well for the time, but it didn't work very fast. And you
Interesting.
had to do a loop the loop.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I don't think I ever managed to do the loop the loop ever.
Interesting. The Amstrad version of that game and the Game Boy version were so incredibly slow that you it was at a crawl trying to get down the track. It was near on impossible to play. So
Just have a look. So here we go. There's a Spectrum version. Crash Magazine got 92%. The worst reviewed version was the Lynx version, 6 out of 10.
that's why we're at the era where we had no expectation of games.
Yeah, I mean it certainly hasn't aged very well. I mean I've been playing Forza Horizon 5 with my little one, and he loves going on the Hot Wheels DLC.
Yeah.
Because it has loop the loops and whatnot, and you have it where there's magnet tracks, and you can have the whole world turn upside down and round. And he's like, "Wow!" If I showed him something like hard driving after that, he'd be like, "The hell is this crap?"
Yeah. But the remake was phenomenal. Of
Which one?
Hard Driving got a remake as well.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Virtual Racing got the best remake, but yeah, the other one.
Oh, Hard Driving was released for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox as part of the Midway Arcade Treasures 2. There was Race Driving and Hard Driving 2 in 1990 1991. I remember Hard Driving 2. I think I remember it in the arcade, I think. But I can't find anything about any. No, it just says about the Amstrad, Mega Drive, Atari Lynx, and Commodore 64 version was released as part of the Wheels and Fire compilation.
Did you look at the hard driving version for the Game Boy?
I can't see a version. I mean, there was a version for the NES, was programmed by Mark Morris, but was unreleased. Wow. I'm just trying to work out how it would work. Oh, I'm just having a look at it. It's more of a top-down version. It's a prototype.
Yeah, I think it was actually called Race Driving on the Game Boy.
So the Race Driving, it was the sequel. That was the sequel, yeah. Let me just.
But it was absolutely terrible.
Let me have a look. Race Driving ports. PlayStation. Oh, Game Boy. There you go. 12.5 out of 20 from Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
So if it got
graphically, it was very, very good.
Well, I'm just seeing if I can have a look. Page 106 in Nintendo.
Interestingly, while you're looking at that, hard driving on the Amstrad and other cassette-based things was a Hit Squad game, and obviously Hit Squad was an Ocean Software release. So yeah,
I'm just having a look. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm having a look at the original Nintendo Power review. It was between $29, $29.99, and $39.99. There is no way to determine correct speed for jumps and loops other than trial and error, which leads to a lot of crashing. Well, that was basically the hard driving game, really, wasn't it?
yeah.
The 3D graphics are very good for a Game Boy game. A wide variety of stunts keeps the challenge high. Yep, mostly because it was really hard. I'm sure there's going to be a video of that somewhere. Let me just. Oh yeah, there's a little video, but no. Yeah, I don't think I'd. Yeah, I don't think I would have been happy if I'd paid. Well, probably the equivalent of £30 for that back in the 90s.
That is an attempt, but a naff outcome.
When you can get things like, you can get your standard things like, Outrun and all that kind of thing. You will want that. But nowadays, I can give it a go on Steam Deck if I can fit it in amongst playing Home Improvement.
Another absolutely terrible game, although I really enjoyed it. It's a guilty pleasure. Is Rocketeer on the Super Nintendo.
I remember that being quite good. Was that not good?
Enjoyed it.
It was like you could fly and shoot and stuff, couldn't you? Was it?
You went round. The initial stage was you racing against some planes. Obviously, the Rocketeer had a rocket backpack, and then you would shoot people on another level, and then you'd race the planes some more, and yeah, it was pretty dark.
Oh yeah, it was like it had different types. It had the platform sections, and it had the walking along and fighting people, and then the flying sections, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I completed it several times, but yeah, I mean, if you want something pretty lame to emulate, give it a go.
Well, after H will come I. I'm just trying to think what I could play that begin with I. I have to actually search for something that Mega Drive games begin with I. But yeah, it's 16-bit though on the Steam Deck and any other handheld PC. You're not going to really have any problem playing them. And most of the Anbernic and Retroid and I don't know, I can't think of the other known handhelds, but your Aya Neo and all these kind of things are all going to play 16-bit, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you don't need any BIOSes, you don't need any, bells and whistles that you need to find dodgily. That's why we talk about these a lot, because they are so easy to get and install, but they are. It's a grey area. Technically, it is still illegal to not own it, download it, and play it. But a lot of these ones are never going to be re-released. Your Sonic games are. Your Sonic games are re-released every about 20 minutes. And your Mario games, obviously, Nintendo are constantly trying to shut these these websites down. I'm just looking here. I searched for Rocketeer X Super Nintendo, and I think out of the top 4 options, 2 of them are play this online. So literally, you don't even need an emulator. You can open up your browser and play a game. Now, granted, that means you've got to play it either with the keyboard or mouse, which
nope, that's not true.
I suppose some of the
sync your
website
Bluetooth
ones
controller to your laptop, and then if you go to ROMs fun. No, tell a lie. Hold on.
most of the websites that you play that you
website where you can
will
play them online for free.
keyboard. So,
Mm.
But that's why get something like Emudeck does have a Windows version. I'm just having a quick look to see if RetroDeck has a version for Windows. Let me have a look. No, it's Linux only, I believe. So so Emudeck does have a Windows version. So if you've got a laptop or a PC and you want to get into emulation, that's your best bet. Read all the instructions that it shows you when it comes up, because it is worth it, just in case there is anything you want to tinker with or anything you've got to find. But there's checks in it that you can go, oh, you want to install this? This is what you need.
Yeah.
But obviously they don't supply it. So if you're after a BIOS or a firmware if you want to play PlayStation 1, Saturn, Xbox 360, a Switch, any of these, there are things that you need that nowhere will supply legally. So things like Emudeck, if they want to stay up, they cannot put these things in there because the big N will come hunting. Hence why in the last year we've lost Yuzu and Ryojinx. But there are various ones that are popping up in their stead. But
there are rumours they're doing it because they're going to be you can easily emulate Switch 2.
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit like going from Xbox 360 to Xbox One. They're basically PCs in a box.
Yeah.
And they're just more powerful PCs. Now, if you could easily emulate, Switch 1, then if they're using the same architecture or whatever it is, then yes, there will be. Neither of us two are ever going to crack anything. We're not technically minded, but those that are, I'm sure that they will be looking at Switch 2 and going, oh, so this is exactly that, just with more bells and whistles. So I can see it being cracked pretty quickly. And that's, like you said, that's why they go around killing everything off. But it's a Hydra. Every time they kill one off, another one appears. Now, they do have quite a busy legal department. So, that they are constantly sending cease and desists. So don't people don't advertise that you've done emulate the Switch or whatever, because in certain countries as well. I mean, in our country, they're not. They're more going after. They more want the people who are uploading things. So, I mean, I won't be. If you're going to get sent to court or taken to court for stealing or whatever, that's your fault. But if you do emulate these things and stick it everywhere that you've been sharing stuff and uploading stuff and whatnot, you will get done for it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Don't do it. It's too much fun.
Exactly. No, I'm meaning the people who are uploading stuff and everything. So, I mean, obviously, VPNs and everything are not guaranteed to be anonymous, because they could just go, hello, Mr. VPN, could you tell me who this person is? And they go, yes, it's John Smith at this address. So use a VPN to install your VPN, to buy your VPN.
And have lots of fun.
It is easy. And to be honest, if most users, if you're emulating 16-bit and earlier, they're not going to care for you, because what's taking you to court going to do? It's only if you're uploading versions and hacking versions so that things work easier. That's what they're going to do. And as we showed with Ryojinx, what they did, they didn't threaten them. They actually chatted with them and said, basically because it hasn't been released, but the way it happened, it's thought that what they've done is gone, we've shut down Yuzu because they were being dicks about it. here's a load of money, shut down.
Mm.
And Ryojinx have gone,
Oh,
so I can imagine there's been a big money deal to shut that down, because it was something they were doing basically for free. But Yuzu were doing adverts on their webpage, and they were taunting Nintendo as well with videos of various things working. So Ryojinx weren't doing that and were asked nicely. Here's a load of money. Probably, we're guessing they might have been offered a job. They might have been offered something else. I don't know. But
like Google, where Trump said, rename the Gulf of Mexico. And they went, okay.
Well,
right.
the thing is, I mean, like Google said, there are different names for different places all around the world. If you go to Germany, it doesn't say United Kingdom over us.
Mm.
If you go to France, it says Wyoming. So it's not a thing that's unusual, and as Google has said, it's only in the US. Everywhere else, it still says the Gulf of Mexico.
But it's safe to say that the US Senate now no longer wants to break up Google because they've done as they're told.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine trying to break up or take over one of the biggest companies in the world because you won't name a golf? Oh dear!
All good fun. And I think, to be honest, we've come to the end of tonight's episode because there's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, so if you do want any advice, get on about Steam Deck and installing emulation or emulators and whatnot on there. It is literally as easy as I've said. And if you want to find ROMs, Reddit, I'd advise that because they have their subreddits are named after what you're looking for. So if you want tentacle porn, you go to our tentacle porn. So if you want ROMs, there you go. So
Duncan's been there.
What, tentacle porn or ROMs?
I make no comment. Just
or both.
Just questions.
Well, yeah, let's just say I regularly clear my history, but that's a story for another day.
That's only because your son uses it.
Oh God, no! I don't want him here in my browser history. Oof.
Yeah.
I've got a 14-year-old as well. I don't need to worry about finding dodgy things. Oh no, it must be him. Blame the 14-year-old.
I like it.
Right. So
like, subscribe.
Focusongaming.co.uk. Yep. Like, subscribe.
Share it with your friends. Share it with your nan.
Give us a review. And and on that note,
we'll see you next
week.
Bye.